March is National Colon Cancer Awareness Month. Joining us from UK King's Daughters to talk about risk factors and when you should get a screening, we have gastroenterologist Dr. Cheryl Bascom. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning to you too.
Yeah, so talk to us about what are the risk factors for colon cancer.
Okay, so we have the familial risk. We would like to talk about that because family members with colon cancer also predisposes other family members to colon cancer. Then we have also hereditary conditions. These are rare, but these are conditions that you inherit which predisposes you to colon cancer. We talk about obesity is also a risk. Diabetes, patients with insulin resistance, can have an increased incidence of colon cancer. Race is very important. We see an increased number of colon cancer in patients with the black race, Native Americans, Alaskan Americans have an increased risk of colon cancer.
Okay, what age should we start getting screened for colon cancer?
Age 45.
45, okay.
Yes.
What are some of the screening options?
Okay, so we have the best screening option would be what the patient agrees to and what the patient completes. The gold standard, of course, is the colonoscopy. This is where we pass the scope and the light and the camera up into the colon looking for any polyps. So this is what we refer to as the one step. The other option would be the two-step, where we do stool studies, like the FIT test. It measures the amount of blood in your stool, even if you do not see the blood. That's one. And then the other test for the stool would be the Cologuard, where it actually measures blood as well as the DNA produced by these polyps. The thing about that, of course, is once these stool tests are positive, then you have to now go on to do a colonoscopy to search for the source for this blood loss, remove polyps if necessary, and hopefully you don't have a cancer.
Okay, so how much does family history affect your chance of getting this type of cancer, colon cancer?
Okay, so family members, first-degree relatives, parents, siblings, children, will increase the risk of a relative with colon cancer by twofold. The more family members closer to that person who is seeking screening colonoscopy, the more family members that are positive also increases the risk. So that's how, family can play a part. Of course, if you're the black race, that's also part of it. Native Americans have increased risk of colon cancer. So that too would predispose them to an increased risk of colon cancer.
Mm-hmm. If you do have a family history, do you recommend getting screened earlier than the age of 45?
It all depends what that family history is. So the hereditary conditions, for example, the Lynch syndrome, if you have a member with colon cancer, we might want to screen you much sooner, 10 years sooner than the regular 45-year-old. And we would do every 2 years, we would do screening colonoscopies for those patients because they have a high incidence of colon cancer.
Okay. So Dr. Bascom, what's a good way to schedule that screening? Go ahead and get it on the calendar.
Okay, so at King's Daughters, we have just launched our BPA, Best Practice Advisory. So that comes up on our medical record screen. It's just a few clicks. The practitioner would go through with the patient the different modalities that are available. For instance, do you want to have a colonoscopy? We'll go through the procedure there, telling them, they need to have a bowel prep. And if they agree to have the colonoscopy, just with a click of the button, then that's sent to our office, and our scheduler will call the patient and get that patient scheduled. If the patient does not want to have a colonoscopy, then of course we'll go through the discussion of having the stool test. They will decide, if they want to do a FIT test or a Cologuard test and send that back in. If that becomes positive, then they now have to subject themselves to a colonoscopy. But that's all followed through. And it's quite simple now that we have all our methods in place.
Yeah, main thing, get that test done, get that screening started. Well, Dr. Bascom, thanks so much for sharing all this with us today on Studio 3.
You're welcome.